Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Exchange CEO Corner. I am joined today by a very special guest, Jesper Andersen, President and CEO of Infoblox, a leader in networking security and automation, helping over 8,000 customers worldwide to control, secure, and automate their infrastructure and their networks. Jesper is a passionate leader about innovation and customer success. As the CEO of Infoblox since 2014, he has driven tremendous growth and customer success for their customers. He's responsible for the overall strategy and technology strategy for the company. Before that, Jesper held a number of senior executive positions, including SVP of Network Management at Cisco, where we worked together there. We were at Cisco at the same time. He also held senior executive positions at a number of companies, including Oracle, PeopleSoft, and Pivotal Software. Thank you very much, Jesper, for joining us today. Great to have you here at Exchange.
Thanks for having me. It's good to see you, Ayman.
Good to see you too. And we live in a very interesting time, Jesper, and I see you're working from home. How is the transition to working remotely, and is everybody at Infoblox doing this?
Yeah, I suspect it's a little bit of the same for you, Ayman. You know, in March, all of a sudden, when the pandemic hit, we literally, like overnight, decided we're closing every office around the world, and we were forced to work from home. We were very fortunate that that transition was super easy for us, and so I've been working from home since March. And if I'm brutally honest, I'm kind of tired of working from home. I'm blessed that I have a great family that's very that is very supportive of me, and I have a great house. But I miss being with my team and visiting with my customers and my partners and others. Even though we can achieve a lot over these great tools like Zoom, I do miss that part. How about yourself? I see you're in the office today. Did you sneak in, or?
I am actually in the office today, but I am just by myself. I'm the only person in the building, actually. Truth be told, I have some workers doing some work at home, and there is a lot of noise. So I was worried that we're not going to be able to record this session without background noise. And that's why I came here to the office. It's pretty vacant. I'm the only person in the building, but good to just remember the days of working in person. But just like you and your team, Jesper, at BMC, you've been entirely 100% working remotely since March 10th, actually.
Yeah.
We certainly live in a very unique and different time and business environment. Business leaders from every segment are rapidly evolving their business model to deal with the COVID-19 crisis. Whether you're in technology or in financial services or in production, manufacturing, or any business segment, we're quickly evolving to deal with how to work remotely, how to provide our goods and services through virtual channels. But even before these crises and the pandemic started, we were all dealing with the rapidly accelerating rate of change in technology and disruption through every business. It's often said that digital transformation got accelerated through the pandemic by 1 to 3 years. And I don't think there has ever been a case or a time for going through digital transformation more than today. It's important and imperative that we're all focused on how we reinvent our businesses as software-powered businesses and to continue to evolve. What do you see from your side, Jesper, in this? And I'm sure as a world infrastructure security leader, and you're helping a lot of customers, and you have a unique perspective in what sort of disruption you're seeing and opportunity as well.
I mean, I think you laid it out well. Even pre-pandemic, I think most of the companies that we are working with and you are working with were obviously on some kind of a journey towards digital transformation. It may have been super aggressive, they may have been that way for a long time, or they may just be starting that kind of journey. if anything, from my perspective, working with our customers, the pandemic has really accelerated that. We are, like you said, in core network services, so it's really about connectivity. And then as part of our core network services, we have, over the last few years, introduced a lot more cybersecurity types of services. It is obviously very critical when employees are connecting from home that they can do so in a secure way. You and I are both old networking hands, so we all remember the days where every laptop was hard-coded VPN into a network, and that was fine in a world where all of the applications were in a data center. Now they're SaaS applications and they live in the cloud, and so there's a different access pattern from a network perspective, and security is changing like that as well. This is a big part of digital transformation, and I think this pandemic, if anything, has shown the difference between companies that invested early and were able to cope with that, and then those that are playing catch up and have had a really hard time and have had to buy lots of VPN concentrators and all the kind of equipment around that. So to me, acceleration of digital transformation is one. Two, a lot more focus on the cybersecurity side. It is an ugly world we live in from many perspectives. Sadly, there's a lot of bad people out there that feel they can make a lot of money. They know they can make a lot of money. These, cyber terrorist states and all that stuff. So a lot of focus on how do I best secure my enterprise, because the price of a break-in is very damaging to customer reputation and financially can be very damaging as well. And then I think there's another thing that's interesting. I'm sure you're seeing it in your business, and that is now that our sales guys have had to work from home, I see a transformation in the sales model in many ways. There used to be pretty hard lines between a traditional, let's call it outside sales type of model, where our customers, our account managers were visiting with customers, and there was an inside sales motion, telesales we can call it. That's kind of blending in this new world, and that's been very interesting, and I think I see that continuing to evolve in how our customers want to engage with us.
Very much so, and actually from my vantage point, I see us going through almost several phases where as the current pandemic started, it was more of how do I survive it? How do I quickly change things? My workforce is going mostly remote and working from home. Go-to-market is going virtual, events and so on. Yeah. Is my workforce capable of working remotely, or do I need to upgrade and invest in IT infrastructure, etc.? And then I'm seeing us now in the industry as a whole going into looking even past COVID. I mean, some things are not going to ever get back to normal, but certainly it's been said many times that the current pandemic and crisis have accelerated digital transformation, that some customers I see and some businesses and industry leaders, they accelerated their journey by anywhere between 1 and 3 years, if you would. Yeah. Are you seeing the same? Do you see the careabouts of customers changing, evolving, and how is it different now, say, than where we were a year ago?
Yeah, I definitely see that. We have, I'm sure you do, we have customer advisory boards, and we had a meeting with our customer advisory board a few weeks back, and we talk a lot about digital transformation. Like you said earlier on, we're in the network and security services area. That's going through a transformation. It used to be delivered on traditional hardware appliances. Now, increasingly, it's getting delivered as a service, so SaaS that started in business applications is coming to infrastructure as well. And that's a lot of what we are discussing with our CAB members. And they were picked because they're all digitally reasonably advanced. But as they all listened to each other about where they are in that journey, a few of them were really visibly surprised on how far they still have to go. Right? They thought they were sophisticated, and they were like, whoa, I am way behind some of these other companies, and that's been really interesting to see.
Absolutely. One of the things I see also is almost like the roles and responsibility and who really is responsible or care about the technology strategy, how it intersects with the business strategy, is fundamentally changing. It's no longer just about IT or the CIO or just the CIO on a couple of lines of business. It's almost like now the relevance is every part of the business. Like there is
exactly
no function or group or a line of business that's not dependent on technology now, which begs a really interesting question in a modern, successful, forward-looking business. Who owns the technology strategy? Is it just the sole, responsibility of a few? Is it about IT? Is there a democratization of sorts? And where this becomes more intertwined with the business strategy across the board? And how does this strategy change in acceleration? In some cases, some things are getting delayed and other priorities. And I'm sure for a company like Infoblox and for the business you're in, you see that in a very pronounced way.
Yeah, I think it's an important observation. I know we're talking, Ayman, to an executive forum here of customers around the world and in very different industries. And it's one thing for you and I who have made our careers in technology to be talking about technology strategy and digital transformation. But I think we also have to acknowledge that if I'm a CEO or an executive for let's call it a mid-market manufacturing company somewhere in the world, my primary job and my background may not be digital. It's in the manufacturing area. So how do I then deal with this need to digitally transform my business? And my view is it is absolutely the CEO and the executive suite's job to educate themselves on what does digital transformation mean. I think it's like the most important job in many ways of that executive team and frankly of the board of directors to help the executive team get there, to push the team to get there. I think any CEO should surround him or herself with digital experts, if you want to call them that, on the board of directors, in the C-suite. I don't think it's fair to say that the technology strategy just falls on a CTO. I think it has to fall on everyone. Because like you said, if the CTO is focused on creating a digital platform for the product that we sell, that doesn't necessarily focus on what does digital marketing mean or what does digital sales mean. And like you said, it touches every function. And you have to infuse that vision and that knowledge and that drive into every one of the functions.
Absolutely. And you touched earlier, Jesper, about aspects of digitization that a few years ago we really weren't front, left, and center of our thought process and prioritization. Everybody, was talking about new digital engagement channels and how do we provide more services and goods over software, apps, and the like. But now, all of a sudden, a switch flipped, and it's the only channel you have. In many cases where it's all digital. And you talked about, the sales or pipeline generation or customer interaction going in digital channels. So here is a thought and maybe a question. Do you think there is going back? So all of this is gone, blown over. We're all flying around the world, getting into planes, visiting customers and in-person meetings and so on. Do you think we're really going to go back to how we operated in 2019? Or are there parts of that change that you think are lasting and will not go back to where we were?
Yeah, I think we're all wrestling with that, right? What does the new normal look like? And I think it's going to be a bit of a combination and a hybrid. I think we all, if we're honest, miss the social interaction. Human beings are inherently social beings, and we all miss that. I don't think even if we have proven we can be more efficient in a digital world or very efficient in a digital world, I don't think that replaces forever human interaction. I think the best businesses will have learned a lot and will harness the power of what they've learned of that digital platform, but they'll combine that smartly with the best part of the, if we can call it, the old world. I think customers want to see their salesperson, their professional services people. I think that interaction builds trust. I think it's hard to build that trust over a virtual kind of screen. I think we're getting there and we're getting better, but it's not the same. And so I think the smartest businesses will combine that. And I think that's especially true when you're thinking about things like sales channels. A lot of companies that were primarily a direct human touch sales channel have had to augment that reality with more of a digital sales experience. A simple example are restaurants, right? I used to be able to walk into a restaurant, meet a waiter, get a meal, and walk out again. A lot of them added digital platforms for doing takeout and things like that. And in a new world, they'll have both, right? What does that mean for your business if you're an executive? What did you augment with, and what's the new reality? If we do it well, that's added sales channels. That should amount to growth for the best businesses out there.
Absolutely. I think I 100% agree with you. We talk a lot about new normal. There are certain things that have changed, and the change is going to be lasting and profound. But the good news and the great news is, even a year or two from now, pandemic is a distant memory, we'll still be able to combine the best of both worlds. We are all social beings, like you said. We need the camaraderie, the ability to co-create, the energy that we pull from each other and inspire into each other. But we can also augment it with a lot of the digital channels and virtual environment to get the best of both worlds. Yeah. I think about a POC or a proof of concept for a new technology, customer engagement. We're able to combine both now and get a degree of intimacy and immediacy too that wasn't possible in the past. Which takes me actually to another related thought around innovation. You know, they say the necessity is the mother of all inventions, and certainly you see this over history where periods of wars, for example, which not something you'd wish to have on a regular basis, but at times drove a great deal of innovation and investment in innovation and so on. And I think we've been living in crisis for the last few months, and it highlighted the important role of technology, of digital transformation, of reliance in technology and innovation. How do we sustain this level of innovation? How do we fundamentally accelerate to make sure we're continue to do it in a sustainable format? We're seeing a lot of new world, new economy, shared economy, innovation ecosystems, and whether it's Tesla and what they're doing with cars and new features almost every day or every week. And by the way, for those of you that don't know Jesper well, Jesper is very much a car aficionado into fast cars, racing cars. So if there is a good analogy I can use with you, Jesper, it would be around cars and technology. Yes. But it really applies to everything, whether it's consumer, whether it's business, large enterprise, in any segment. How do we sustain and accelerate this innovation moving forward?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I know you focus a lot on it, Ayman, at BMC. I was listening to your pitch the other day on this notion of an autonomous digital enterprise, and I wholeheartedly agree with your view on. You sort of went through what are the characteristics of an autonomous digital enterprise. You talked about agility. You talked about how when we can gather a lot more data about our customers and their behavior, we can use that with artificial intelligence to build more value proposition. You talked about how it's a much more automated type of enterprise and so on. And I agree wholeheartedly with that. And I think when it comes to innovation and when we think about that autonomous digital enterprise, it's interesting to see how a lot of enterprises, because of the pandemic, were thrown right into the deep end of that, right? How on earth what did I do to cope with massive changes overnight to my business because I was in an industry that was really hurt by the pandemic? And I think the strong enterprises will learn from what they did. They will have gotten a real jolt of energy and said, wow, we never knew we could innovate this fast. how do we sustain that post the pandemic? How do we not just kind of go back to the old world we were in? And I've met with a number of customers, and I've been fortunate enough to be on a couple of panels and talk to very senior leaders of quite innovative businesses across all industries. The work that Dr. Michael Crow has done at ASU as an education experience is all about innovation and changing to an autonomous digital enterprise. So I think it's very fascinating to see the best businesses sustaining that. The second thing I would say when it comes to innovation is what I really like to see with our customers is I think the best businesses find inspiration for innovation by going outside their boundaries. And so again, if I'm a manufacturing company, what can I learn from the Web 2.0 companies? What can I learn from how banks are innovating to become more of a digital enterprise? And we try very hard at Infoblox to bring customers from different industries together and have them talk about their digital transformation. And I love seeing light bulbs go on. And I always try to help facilitate, what does that move to a digital sales channel mean in your business? How can you take advantage of that? So I think we as technology companies have an obligation and an opportunity to act as catalysts and facilitators in that discussion, not just selling our products, but helping our customers on that journey. And that's one of the most exciting things about my job.
Absolutely. I think the whole idea of an innovation ecosystem and crowdsourcing of ideas, it could come from your peers in the same industry, different industry altogether. I think the boundaries between a technology company that produces technology for a living and a customer or a business that uses it to run their business is blurring more and more. We're doing a lot of co-innovation with some of our customers in BMC Innovation Lab, and I think this is going to become more of the normal. Listening to you and the stories you tell about customers and where the ideas come from, I think this is going to become part of the new normal.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, with all of this that's being thrown at us, as a CEO of a business, whether you're in technology or you're in financial services, you're in manufacturing and oil and gas, or you name it, you are in the technology business. Yeah. A ton of opportunity for innovations, a ton of competing priorities as well. So when it comes to investments, how do you go about the prioritization? What is that North Star that says, yes, here is like 50 different investments I need to make tomorrow. Here is an exciting new vision and a strategy I'm driving, and I have customers with unmet needs, and I can go and tackle this segment or that segment. But there is never enough hours in the days or dollars in the budget, and prioritization and intersection of all that can be done with a clear vision, a strategy, or a North Star becomes so important. How do you see this changing as we move forward, Jesper?
Yeah, I think first of all, anyone who's a business leader is running, if they're successful, are running their business in a fiscally responsible kind of way. So you can only invest so much. But if you are on the journey towards being a autonomous digital enterprise, if you are investing in the right area, hopefully there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And so you have a vision, you are working towards a higher growth kind of opportunity for your company. And so a big part of an executive's job, I know you spend time on it, I spend time on it, is on educating your board of directors on why you need to invest in these areas. So it's a really important role of any executive team to make sure your board is aligned with your growth strategy, because that's where the dollars get approved for that investment. Now, we've been very fortunate at Infoblox that we have seen tremendous growth over the last few years. We finished our last fiscal year at the end of July, and we had over 50% revenue growth in our Q4 quarter, and just have been very fortunate. And part of that, as I mentioned, is this focus on core network services and cybersecurity services. So we are a little bit in a unique situation that we're seeing very strong demand. And I appreciate not every business is equally fortunate about that. But obviously, when you see that demand, a big part of our investment is in sales expansion. We see a growing TAM. And so we are investing significantly on the sales side, whether that's in direct salespeople or customer success managers or in our channel sales or whatever it might be. That's, I would say, bucket number one.
Right.
We, like many of your listeners and companies, are in a world and an industry that's transforming massively itself, like many of your industries are. We are moving from this old world of perpetual software on appliances to SaaS-delivered services, and that is not for the faint of heart. You and I have a long background in technology, and we are all used to a high spend on product or R&D, if you like, as a percentage of revenue, and I think that you have to be willing to do that in high tech, and we are no exception to that. So we continue to invest a lot in product, and we're ramping that up again. We have an existing platform we're investing in, and we are investing a lot in our new SaaS platform called Blox One. We need to be able to deliver our services to the customer in any way they choose to consume them. And then the last bucket for me is the same that all of the listeners have here. In order to be an autonomous digital enterprise, you have to be willing to invest in systems, because it's about automation and about data, and you can't automate and capture if you do not have a robust IT platform. And we have invested a lot in that over the last 3, 4, 5 years, a lot in our CRM systems and in our ERP systems and automation in every way. And that continues this year. And I think you have to be willing to spend that money on automated solutions from the likes of BMC and other companies out there to be a true digital enterprise. And we are a true digital enterprise. So I'd say those are my 3 buckets.
Absolutely right on spot on the money. I mean, speaking of money and investment, I also find, like, I agree with everything you said, and I'm just like, as I'm listening to you, I see a couple of themes emerging here, and I think strategy and clarity on strategy, on purpose, on what the objective is, the scope, the advantage becomes of paramount importance.
Yes, no doubt.
The North Star and importance of having a North Star, and I think there's never been time where it's more critical than it is today.
Yeah, it starts with setting a compelling vision and then defining a strategy of how do you get to that destination. And that's our most important jobs as executives, right?
Absolutely. And it becomes equally not just what you do, but what you also not do and what you stop. Because like at the end of the day, you're competing in a finite resources, no matter how big your budget is.
There is that challenge, and I think I don't know about you. For me, I'm not very good at saying no, but but I know I have to. So.
And to make it more objective, and it becomes not just like a blind spot or ideology. I think that's where the whole notion of insights and data-driven businesses and how you sift through mountains of data and just turn it into actionable insights that can identify a customer unmet need, an opportunity, an investment thesis, and then just like let the innovation happen, take place, and value get created. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of opportunities, it's easy to focus on all the risks, the mitigation, like challenges we're seeing, but I think there is a huge silver lining. It's a great time to be in technology. Just like you mentioned, for Infoblox, we're seeing very strong growth and momentum in the business. But it's not only good time to be in technology as a technology provider. It's a good time to be in technology no matter what business you're in. And for every challenge and a change we see coming at us fast, I see 10 opportunities with that. What do you see as we go through this pandemic and as we come out of it as biggest opportunities and risks that are worth taking to grab these?
Yeah, I think depending on where your company is on this spectrum, this journey towards a more digital enterprise. I think the biggest opportunity is it opens up new channels and potentially new markets. Right? I mentioned that before. All of a sudden, if you are a restaurant or you're in that kind of business and you never had a digital channel, and now you were forced to invent very quickly a digital channel. Now that's opened up new markets. Not everyone goes and eats at restaurants, right? Many people have little kids and they can't get out. They don't have anyone to take care of them. And now you've opened a market. How do you expand beyond restaurant goers to people that like takeout food? Huge opportunity. And you can go through literally every single business that people that are listening to this discussion, whatever business you are in, what are those additional channels, markets, whatever you want to call them that you have? I think there's never been a better opportunity, especially if you're advanced on this digital transformation platform, to think about how you can take market share from your competitors, leveraging some of these new channels and opportunities you have. I think that is a huge, huge, huge opportunity. That's what we are doing at Infoblox, and that's what I see a lot of our customers doing. And I think any executive team needs an explicit discussion and strategy around what are the new opportunities we see with this transformation we have had to go through as part of the pandemic.
I fully agree with you, Jesper, and I am very bullish and excited about the future ahead.
Yep.
I think 2020 has been the year of digital transformation, remote workforce. How do we all quickly, adjust to a new mode of doing things? But you look at the early indicators already, market for IPOs is on fire.
Yep.
Investments in new startups, new ideas, I see it a huge spike and rise. And my prediction for 2021 is there's going to be a huge opportunity and an upside for driving accelerated growth.
Yeah.
All the socioeconomic environment is going to be conducive to it. Fundamental shifts in the spending power coming from millennials and a whole new generation with different consumption patterns, accelerating, not just continuing, but accelerating shift to new digital channels of delivery. All of this offers all of us as business leaders a great opportunity. And the time is now to invest in technology, to invest in innovation, and to accelerate and break away from the competition, no matter what business segment you're in.
Yep.
Interesting and exciting times indeed. Very good discussion, Jesper. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really great to hear your views and to be able to share some of these with our customers and our partners. Thanks you for having me today.
Thanks for having me, Ayman. Good to talk to you.